are going to be 0-5 for a start. 0-5, and now they're 3-2. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. Wilbon has the day off. I'm joined by our great friend, the host of the starting lineup on Sirius XM Radio, Mr. Frank Isola. And we begin today with last night's late NFL game in the mist in Washington, where the Chicago Bears got a small measure of revenge for last year's Hail Mary game by beating the Commanders on a last-second field goal, 25-24. That field goal was made possible by a fumbled exchange between the Washington quarterback and running back that was recovered by the Bears on their own 44 and advanced down the field in the last minutes. Frank, what does this say about each team?
Well, I look at the game and I'm thinking, this is the kind of game that the Bears lost last year, and this is the kind of game that the Commanders would have won. Why do I know that? Because that's exactly what happened. And remember, you mentioned the Hail Mary, the Hail Maryland play. You know, the Bears ended up losing 10 in a row after that. This comes on now they have a 3-game winning streak, and Tony, they didn't even play that well. No, they blew a double-digit lead. They had 9 penalties, but they found a way to win. So who knows? Maybe Ben Johnson, maybe this quarterback who completed a big pass on 3rd and 5, and then Swift had the big run to set up the field goal. The kicker, Jake Moody, had missed a field goal before. So these are the kind of games that kind of determine if just a good team could maybe be a playoff team. I think that's what we saw last night.
Just following up on what you're saying, I think that Washington should have won that game. And they were undone by 3 turnovers, the last of which, the fumbled exchange, just completely sunk them. And that one is on Jaden Daniels. I mean, that in the rain, he was bobbling the ball. They are 3-3. Last year, Washington went to the NFC Championship game, albeit a surprise, but they went to that game. This year, that feels like they've regressed. They have literally won one, lost one, won one, lost one, won one, lost one. And I think that the people, you know, here in Washington, D.C., are rather disappointed with this. And it has the feel, Frank, of what it must have been like last year in Houston when everybody thought the Houston Texans were going to be real good because they weren't the year before and they fell flat on their faces. You're right about the Bears. I mean, the Bears are significantly better this year than they were last year. As I said earlier, Wilbon picked them to be 0-5 at the start, and they're 3-2, and they've won 3 in a row. And that matters. And yeah, hiring Ben Johnson as an offensive coach, that seems to produce something. The Bears are scoring 25 points a game. That's 10th in the league. We don't look at the Bears lately as an offensive machine. It's had a great effect clearly on Caleb Williams, who wasn't that good last year. He's got 9 touchdown passes. He's got 2 interceptions. He's going to pass. He's on pace for 4,000 yards. Nobody in the Bears organization as a quarterback has ever done that before. And I'll just take a little more time to say what their upcoming schedule is. It's New Orleans, at Baltimore, at Cincinnati, and the Giants. They should be able to at least win 3 out of those and be 6-3 and a playoff contender in a tough division.
And let's remember, too, they lost a game where they gave up 52 points to Ben Johnson's old team, where he was the offensive coordinator in Detroit. And this is why I talk about that margin of error sometimes. Last year, Washington had 19 scoring drives in the 4th quarter. That was 4th best in the NFL. They also gave up 20, which was the 6th most in the NFL. So last year, they were kind of winning those close games. This year, when you lose them, that's sometimes the difference between getting into the playoffs and not. That's why that was a good sign last night for the Chicago Bears. All right, let's move to last night's early game in which the Falcons surprisingly beat the Bills. Bijan Robinson went for 238 yards from scrimmage, including an 81-yard touchdown run. The Falcons' defense, meanwhile, picked off Josh Allen twice. Atlanta quarterback Michael Penix Jr. said post-game that the win shows his 3-2 team is, quote, really good. This team is really legit. Tony, do you agree?
No, not as I'm sitting here right now, you know, not yet halfway through the season. No, it's a not yet situation. I mean, look, their wins are good. It's Buffalo, Washington, and Minnesota. Those are nice wins. But they lost the division game to Carolina, a bad team. They lost the division game to Tampa Bay, so they're 0-2 in their division. So what is the path to really legit when you're 0-2 in that division? Bijan Robinson is a great back. He's a great back. And Penix has had a fine year so far in what is essentially his rookie year. But my skepticism, Frank, is based on last year when they were a bad team, when I believe they they ultimately benched Kirk Cousins, but they were in the middle of a run where they lost 6 of their last 8 games. They haven't been in the playoffs or had a winning record since, I think, 2017, right around there. So I'm going to hold back a little bit on really legit. I'm going to hold back.
Yeah, that's a great stat that you gave. 2017, haven't had a winning record, haven't made the playoffs. But the one difference maybe with this team right now, and I know it's still early in the season, they've only allowed an average of 253 yards per game their defense has. That is best in the league. That's how you win in the NFL. You don't need the great quarterback, and who knows, maybe this kid has a chance to be pretty good, but they're doing it on defense. Yesterday they blitzed Josh Allen on 71% of his dropbacks. They cause a lot of pressure. And the one thing I kind of took away from that game, I'm not necessarily buying Buffalo yet. Like you look at the AFC, and for some reason Kansas City, we keep waiting for them to fall off, and you keep waiting for Buffalo to do something. But look at the wins that they've had, Tony. They've beaten the Ravens, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Saints. Those teams are combined 3-21, and we all love Josh Allen, but he hasn't looked like John Elway just yet, right?
Right. I'm just going to make one point here. That something's wrong in Buffalo the way something is wrong in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. But
Yes.
Buffalo, I think, is emblematic of a capsizing in the AFC. Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City have been at the top, the cream of the crop, for 5 or 6 years now. They are now a combined 8-10, while Indianapolis is 5-1. And Jacksonville and Denver and the Chargers, there's movement in that conference. Let's move to baseball. The Mariners hit 3 home runs last night and we pulverized Toronto 10-3. They go back to Seattle with a 2-0 lead and 3 games at home if they need 3. Dodgers got a great start from Blake Snell, giving up only 1 hit through 8 full innings, beat the Brewers 3-2. The Dodgers are now 6-1 in these playoffs. Frank, where do you want to start?
All right, I'm real quick on the job. I'm going to let you dive into Blake Snell, who, by the way, I'm still wondering why Tampa took him out of that World Series game when you watch him pitch like you did last night. But this is what you love about baseball. How about the 8-6-2? I remember when I was a beat writer for 2 years. They said you're going to see things you've never seen before. Last night you watched the game, it's never happened before in the playoffs. An 8-6-2 double play. The Dodgers are the victims of it, and they still go on to win. You got to win a game like that if you're the Milwaukee Brewers, so that's tough. But I'm going to turn to the Mariners for a second because I think the Dodgers are still the best team. They always find a way. You think about where the Mariners were on Friday night. It felt like they won the game 4 times, but they could have lost it about 4 times. They sneak in by beating the Tigers. Polanco has the big hit in that game. He has one of their 3 home runs yesterday. There's something about this team. And now they go home, like you just mentioned before. They get those 2 wins, first time in franchise history in the World Series. So there's a little magic there with the Seattle team.
I'm just going to go to the 8-6-2 briefly. I've watched baseball for 3,000 years. When it hit against the wall and he caught it, I somehow thought it was an out. I have seen so many people juggle the ball off their own glove. I actually thought it was an out. All right, let me get to Blake Snell. Yeah. And I would forgive people if they don't remember that he's actually won the Cy Young